We say we want to be included. We say we want to be a part of, a family. We want to be seen. The truth is, we want to be validated. We want who we are to be validated. And many people that consider themselves outcasts or black sheeps, the light workers, the starseeds, the old souls, the ancient souls, the cosmic souls, we feel like we've been ousted. We feel like we've been on the outside of society. We're being called, I said this in a previous podcast, we're being called to release, I said this in Level Up. The name of the podcast installment or episode is called Level Up. We're being called to release that energy of feeling like we're black sheep, feeling like we're outcasts, because where God got us, the universe, the Most High, the One, where we're being ushered, our purposes, our roles, calls for us to be able to communicate and connect with the masses. In order to do that, we can't have that energy repelling the masses because we think that we're different from you. We're not the same. I'm an outcast. I am a black sheep. I'm different. When we hold those energies of being the black sheep, the outcast, the different, the outlier, when we hold that energy, we repel the masses, right? So, many groups that, we create, the groups that we create to separate us from one another. We say that we want to be included. We want to make laws and we want to, protest for inclusion. When the truth is, we just want to be seen for who we are. We just want to be validated for who we are. Why do we fight one another? We are triggered by each other. We trigger each other, and these triggers that we trigger within each other are supposed to be opportunities for introspection, reflection, to introspect in order to heal self. All of the arguments, fights that we get into as humanity, as humans, as individuals, in relationships and family dynamics, in societies and governments, is because we trigger energies within each other that are supposed to be triggered in order to be looked at and healed. But we trigger and we fight. We trigger and we fight. Welcome back to another installment of Kingdom Things with me, your host, Ashley Nicole Phillips, spiritual practitioner, spiritual healer, spiritual creative, by the way of God, Goddess, Source, Essential Sun, the Most High, Creator, whatever you like to call the power, the energy, the force behind all that is, behind creation, behind beingness. That is who ushered me into my role of being a spiritual creative, spiritual healer, spiritual practitioner. So, pieces. Right now, we are in the 8-8 Lionsgate portal energy, right? And, I spoke on, the other podcast, Level Up, I'm being trajected, catapulted into a new level of reality. More abundant, more soul-aligned reality for me, right? And at this time, I am working through some shadow energies, shadow work. It's never done. So basically, acknowledging the parts of yourself that you turned a blind eye to, acknowledging the parts of yourself that you were taught were unworthy of your love and attention, turning a blind eye to those aspects of self that don't feel the best, that don't give you the best feelings, right? So when I was speaking about validating, you just want to be validated for who you are. I have always been a sensitive person. Like since day one of this lifetime, I've been able to sense the energies of other people, been able to communicate with the spirit realm. I've been able to be or perceive outside of the boxes of social conformity. Ever since day one of this lifetime, I've been able to be and see, perceive outside of the boxes of social conformity. So when I talk about validation, I wanted to be validated for who I was, being able to perceive differently. I wanted that to be validated. I always seeked for that to be validated. And how this manifests in our lives. When we do this, we seek to be validated for our true soul selves, for the parts of us that we were taught were unworthy or not valuable. When we seek to be validated, those parts of ourselves to be validated, when we seek external validation to be validated, those parts that we were taught were unvaluable or unworthy, we're taught to do this because we feel as if, those parts of ourselves aren't mirrored in our everyday reality. When in all actuality, it's all around us. We are. And I'm being guided to understand that there's no one part of me that's more worthy than the other. There's no one part of me that's more valuable than the other. My beingness, our beingness, us just being is the value. Us just being is the value. Our existence is the value. That's it. Oh, you can juggle with riding a unicycle, that's cool, but your being, that's the value. That's the value. We seek to justify us being here. We seek to justify our existence when our existence is a justification. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be if who we were, our beingness wasn't valuable. As we are created by a purposeful energy, a purposeful creator, a purposeful God, goddess. Us just being is the purpose in and of itself. As more of us begin to awaken, and as already demonstrated, in the world, we are going to awaken to our gifts, to our soul's essence. And our soul's essence as spirits have so many more dimensions and aspects than what we were confined to in our previous paradigm. So our souls that we're awakening to, our soul's light, our soul's authentic vibrations that we're being awakened to have so many more aspects that we call gifts, psychic abilities, sensory abilities. These abilities that we're awakening to are abilities that are a part of our true soul's essence, right? And as more of us begin to awaken, we're going to feel in our awakening process, we're going to feel isolated. We're going to feel as if, it's just me. Like I'm going through this by myself. And I went through that phase and I'm just coming up out that phase. I'm just being guided out that phase. And I'm so grateful and thankful. These new aspects of self that we're awakening to, I'm being guided to understand that I cannot apply the old human paradigms to this new part of self. The old human paradigms, which I speak about in the Kingdom Things installment, the title of that episode or installment is called Default Mode. We can't be in our new essence, in our true essence, our authentic soul essence. We can't be in our true authentic soul essence and default back to default mode. So we can't be, beings that we can do whatever we want. We can choose to do whatever we want. We can choose to do whatever we want. But as far as creating a new humanity where we are creating solutions for the dysfunctions that we've experienced in the history of humanity. So we can do whatever we want. We have free will to do whatever we want. But if we want to create solutions and remedies for the dysfunctions that we've created in the past history of humanity, we have to understand, in order to come to resolution, we have to do away with the old paradigms of the old states of being of our egos that were created because of the dysfunctions that we outlined as what reality was. The programmings and boundaries that we created and said, this is our reality, this is how it is, created the dysfunctions and the egos as we carried and existed as before. So the jealousy, the ranking hierarchy, the I'm better than you, the competition, the rat race, all of that is part of the default mode, the old human paradigm when we didn't know that we were infinite beings with access to infinite abundance, with access to infinite health, with access to infinite wealth, with access to infinite possibilities. When we didn't know our infinite nature, the infinite possibilities of what we can create, we were competitive, we were judgmental, we felt as if it was one man for himself. It was a dog eat dog world when we didn't know that we are all infinite beings. As we begin to awaken to our true soul's essence, our boundless nature, our infinite nature, we have to understand that in order to create remedies and solutions for our past creations that we created out of a lack mentality, a lack consciousness, with being deprived of the knowledge that we are infinite beings with infinite possibilities available to us for us to create. In order to create the remedies of what we created, solutions for what we created out of our lack consciousness, our lack mentality, we have to understand that in our infinite nature, as we awaken to our soul's essence, our gifts that we call gifts, as we awaken to these gifts, these psychic abilities, these sensory abilities, we have to understand that no one's better than anyone else. These gifts that we hold, what we call gifts that we hold, they're our true nature. We've been deprived of our true nature for so long. We want to grab onto this and say, this is mine and no one else's. We want to feel like I am special. This is mine and no one else's. Because we were in the lack mentality before, where we felt like we had to claim stake claim to what we accumulated in life. So this is big for me because, I felt so alone my whole life. This whole lifetime, I felt alone. I felt by myself, I felt like who I wasn't acceptable. And I talk about this in other podcast installments, but I felt like who I wasn't acceptable. My truth wasn't acceptable. So I took on the energies of other people. I embodied the energies of other people in order to feel like I fit in. And in turn, I created a life that wasn't reflective of my true soul's essence. And I was miserable and I was depressed and I was a ball of anxiety roaming this earth. So as we awaken to our true soul's essence, and we begin to come into alignment with our true soul's essence and an alignment with a life that's reflective of that's a mirror to our true soul's essence, this abundance, these infinite creations, these infinite possibilities that we begin to create. We no longer have to hold on to these, stake claim to these, and feel like no one else can have this, because we are we are a part of an infinite pool, an infinite family of infinite possibilities. We are no longer one man for all, but it's no longer dog eats dog world. It is, I am infinite, you are infinite. What can I learn from you? What can you learn from me? As far as like our cultural differences, because we still have that. We'll still have our cultural differences. We'll still have, those duality differences that we can learn from each other. Instead, those differences that trigger the seemingly differences that trigger us on the inside. Those are opportunities for us to learn versus fighting and warring over. And this is big for me. Spirit's talking to me. Because I was like, she can't do that because I do that. Like, no, we literally are all one. We are all one. And I'm seeing this in my day-to-day life. And I think a big part of the resentment I was feeling is like, I feel like I've been like going through the crapper this whole life. And then people can live a joyful and abundant life and then just wake up to their abilities, wake up to their soul without having to go through the shit. But Spirit's like, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. And with worrying about myself, instead of trying to focus on, the energies of other people, focus on accommodating other people, and then just like being in my own body, being in my own energy, I'm able to see how everything around me is just a reflection of who I am. I can notice, I can perceive that everything around me is a reflection of who I am now that I am in my own body, in my own energy. Yay! Spirit, or the spirit aspects of myself are reminding me that, your energy isn't for everyone. Our energies aren't for everyone, because our energies can trigger other people into going places they're not ready to go. Our energies can trigger other people to uncover parts of themselves that they're not ready to look at. So our energies aren't for everyone. Spirit's reminded me this universe is a universe with the law of attraction. So as we begin to live in alignment with our true authentic self, our soul selves, as we begin to emanate our soul's authentic vibration, our soul's authentic blueprint, we will attract to us the people, the situations, the things, the opportunities that are in alignment with our true soul's essence. Without knowing it, we gaslight ourselves. Why? We are more than this one life's incarnation. We are so much more than this one life's incarnation. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So how many human experiences did you have different preferences in what you prefer in this life? How many experiences did you have different beliefs in what you have in this life? We carry these energies around in our being. And at this time in the history of the human collective, at this time in the history of Mother Gaia, we are awakening to our infinite nature. So we are awakening these energies that have been dormant in our DNA for millennia. So awakening energies in our DNA, records in our DNA from past incarnations, past experiences of our soul, of our soul print, of our soul's essence, of our authentic essence, of our true essence. So unknowingly we gaslight ourselves because we say, I would never do that. Oh, I don't like that. Da, da, da. And unknowingly, we're rejecting a part of ourselves that we haven't experienced in this life. That's why we're being guided. That's why I channeled the message from the higher beings to drop into our hearts and stop trying to understand everything with our minds, because we have no recollection of a lot of these energies that we carry around. In order for us to experience Jesuses, in order for us to experience saints in the history of humanity, we have to have the understanding that we're going to experience Hitlers. In order for us to experience Jesuses, we were going to have to experience Hitlers. And so whatever you've experienced in life, at some point in the history of your earth experiences, at some point in the history of your earth lives, plural, earth lives, you experience the polar aspect of the energy that you've experienced. The principle of compensation, what goes around comes around. So whatever energies you've experienced, you've been the perpetrator of that energy at some point in the history of your earth lives, plural. In order for us to experience Jesuses, we had to experience Hitler. We've been in the dark. We've had a confined perspective of what reality is. We've had a confined perspective of what reality is, and our scopes are expanding. Our scopes of reality are expanding, so we're able to perceive more of what reality is. So we are being inundated with the wisdom of expanded perceptions, expanded views, bird's eye views of reality. We're being inundated with expanded wisdom of what reality is. It's up to us to decide what we want to do with our new knowledge. It's up to us to decide what we want to do with our new knowledge. Myself, I've been going through this shadow work, rapida, just being hit with energies back to back, to a point where spirit's like, just go to sleep, lay down, take a nap, and the energies were just flowing through me, to where I was able to perceive the different energies that were in my DNA, in my being, that I was carrying around, that were dormant. These energies that were in my DNA, in my being, I was carrying around, and these energies were dormant. These energies are the energies of the experiences I've had in this life experience, in my many lives. So I was reading all of these energies, and I was just getting overwhelmed. So my spirit guides were like, just lay down, go into meditation / nap. Just lay down, go into meditation / nap. So I did that. And then when I got up, I was just feeling like I have the understanding, the expanded view that, we're infinite spirits having a human experience. I've cognized this. This is my reality. I am a spirit having a human experience. I'm a spirit having a human experience. I know that I am a divine being. So I am a being that carries a frequency of unconditional love. I'm a being that carries a frequency of unconditional love. I am a goddess. I carry the frequency of God, Goddess, unconditional love. That's my truth. That's my truth. And I descended to this reality to not only experience this reality, but to help evolve this reality. So when I got up and I felt these energies, yes, I am a divine being, unconditional love. That's my truth. But Spirit's also helping me understand that you're choosing to have this human experience. So yes, you're a divine being, but in the time being, you are also human. You are also human. So you're experiencing your divinity, and in some aspect, a polar energy to divinity is being human. In some aspects, what's going on is God, Goddess sent me in to be a part of the reno of the human being. God, Goddess sent me in to be a part of the reno of the blueprint of the human being. So what are we going to do with this expanded knowledge of the wider scope, the bird's eye view of what reality is? You're not just one life. It's not just one life. We're infinite beings that carry around energies for many lifetimes. many spaces and places in the cosmos. We're awakening to this wisdom. What are we going to create with this wisdom? Myself, I was like, you right, spirit. I did some fucked up shit in the past. And it's all about perspective. Like, are you going to judge yourself? I'm being guided not to judge myself because my truth is unconditional love. Anything else is just an illusion. Everything else that I've experienced outside of unconditional love is an illusion. So what am I going to do with this reawakening of this wisdom of the truth of the expanded scope of reality? I am going to stay close to the water. Stay close to the water. And then God has to remind me, you are the water. So staying close to myself, my truth. What's my truth? I'm a divine being having a human experience. I'm unconditional love. So being able to sharpen and exercise my perceptions of what's illusions and what's my truth. And making choices and decisions and actions and taking steps that I know are divinely ordered in order to fulfill my role in the reconstruction of the blueprint of what is a human being of planet Earth. As we allow ourselves to embody and emanate our truth, our divine essence, the frequency of unconditional love, with the understanding that, reality is more than what we thought it was. And with this new bird's eye view of what reality is, there is a divine design where all that is perpetrated is experienced, and all that is experienced is perpetrated. We can come together with the understanding that we are one, with exercising the unconditional love. And it starts on an individual basis where we allow ourselves to look at and feel all of the parts of ourselves, not just the parts that we've deemed worthy of our love. I have been traversing this bridge from my old self and the rebirth into the new embodiment of self, the divine embodiment of self, the goddess embodiment of self. I've been in this birth canal for some time. Anticipating to see the light of day as a new embodiment of self, the goddess embodiment of self. Many things were blocking me from reaching. I'm trying to find a poetic way to say this. I'm just going to say it. A lot of things were blocking me from coming into the full embodiment of my goddess self. Many things in which were termed default mode, the ego self, Earth's personality of the human, the archetype that we've built, that we've created the human to be. I'm here to assist with changing the blueprint of what humanality is. Me being birthed into my goddess form, my divine form, was me understanding that I can't take that default mode with me. I can't take the ego with me. I can't take the earth personality with me. One of the biggest things was we are in competition with each other. This is something that was indoctrinated into our DNA in order to keep us at a certain level of evolvement before we destroyed ourselves. So the competition, where we see each other as competition versus a part of the grand design, versus assistance in the ecosystem of what is. this competition was indoctrinated into our DNA in order to keep us from evolving past a certain point of evolution of consciousness, evolution of the human biology. Keep us stagnant, keep us on a certain loop, certain track of time that ensured that we will not realize our divinity as source-seated beings. We are not in competition with one another. We are each purposeful. We each deserve a gold medal. We each play a pertinent role in the ecosystem of what is, because we exist. If we didn't have a purpose, if our purpose wasn't purposeful, we would not exist. Each and every one of us, no matter how you perceive the role that each and every one of us plays, has a role that in order for shit to operate, you have to be. Each and every one of us is pertinent for the evolution of humanity. In order for us to evolve past self-domination, past self-destruction, we have to understand that we're not in competition, but we each are a gear in the machine, in the creation of the grand design by the divine. All of the shadows, what we term the shadows or our darkness, sanskara in Sanskrit, are a product of the choices of the human. All of what we term shadows or sanskara are a product of the choices of the human. The human being, when the human being was seated with divinity, with the knowledge of the universe, when the human being was seated with the knowledge of the universe, the human being was also gifted the knowledge of duality, darkness and light. The darkness being choosing to live other than by the grand design of the Most High Creator. The darkness being the human being choosing to live by rules other than the rules of the grand designer of the universe, of God, Goddess, of the One. Light being the choice to follow our intuitive nudges, follow our intuitive guidance in order to be in alignment with divine design. All of the karma that humanity has cycled through is a choice humanity made. All of the karma that humanity has cycled through is a choice that humanity made. Why? Because humanity had the knowledge of the operations, the design of the universe. Humanity had the knowledge of darkness, living disconnected to their divinity, or light, living through the guidance of the source self. Humanity chose to live out of alignment with its source self, spiritual self. can't live with them, can't live without them. That saying we have as a society, our spouses, oh, I can't live with them, can't live without them. So I'm working through these energies that are, in order to expand into a newer level of reality. I'm working through these energies that I've held for lifetimes, that the human collective, energies that I took on to assist the human collective with evolution. So I'm working through the energies of the human collective, the dysfunction created by the human collective, in order to assist the human collective with ascension, in order to assist the human collective with evolution. And in turn, I'm going to be creating a life and a new level of reality, a life on a new level of reality, right? Can't live with them, can't live without them. So a while back, I did a past life regression. I may have spoken about this, I may have not. I think I did in a previous installment of Kingdom Things. So I did a past life regression. It was one of the first past life regressions that I did on myself, right? And what I came up with, what I experienced, what I saw was a girl named Allie who lived in backwoods Kentucky. Like, I don't want to offend anyone, but it was like backwoods Kentucky. It was like Kentucky before it was called in Kentucky. It was actually Alexandria, Kentucky is what it was. It was like in the 1800s or something. Like it was some time ago. Her name was Allie, short for Allison, right? She lived in a log cabin. She lived in a cabin with her grandfather, her father, and her mother. As I did this past life regression, Allie was a rambunctious kid. She had a lot of energy, high vibe energy. Why? Because she was a being planted here to assist with the evolution of humanity. She got lost in the sauce. Right? So Allie, I did my past life regression. Allie, she is a woman who grew up in Alexandria, Kentucky. As a child, she lived in a cabin with her mother, her father, and her grandfather. Her mother, it seemed like her mother was annoyed by Allison, because she was different. Allie was different. Allie was rambunctious. Allie had a high vibration. Allie wasn't like all the other kids. Why? Because again, Allie, she was planted here to assist with the evolution of humanity. As when she was a kid, she witnessed her father get shot and killed. Shortly after that, her grandfather died. But before I saw that, before I saw my father get shot and killed, before my grandfather died, I was sitting with my grandfather, and he was like, Allie, you're special. Don't ever let anyone take that from you. Allie, you are special. Don't ever let anyone dim your light, Allie. Don't let anyone dim your light, Allie. Right? And then I witnessed my father get shot and killed. Like I saw it. I was coming out the log cabin, and he was like running. Like, okay, let's. There's a door. The door is open, so I can see. Straight through the door. Shot straight through the door. He runs past it, like the entrance of the door. Like he runs past where I can see him running, right? And then I see him get shot and fall down. He got shot and killed. Shortly after that, my grandfather, when he got shot and killed, in the past life regression, the picture that I saw was Allie, Allison, me. The energy was when I saw him get shot and killed, I backed into a closet, into a pantry, into a hamper. I curled up in a ball, and I was just sitting there in the darkness. So I witnessed my father get shot and killed. I back into the hamper, into the closet, into the pantry. I fall to the floor, curl up in a ball, and I just sit there. Right? And that was symbolic of me when I curled up in that dark pantry. That was symbolic of the light, my light leaving me. It was symbolic of my light, me allowing my light to be dimmed. It was symbolic of me being traumatized to the point where, I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to feel anything. And our lights, our souls, they are within our heart space. Our souls are within our heart space. So when we divert our energy from our heart space, and we avoid our heart space because we don't want to feel those pains, those traumas, our soul essence, our soul frequency is dimmed. And we begin to operate from our brains to avoid the pains of the traumas that we experienced, right? So me falling back into the hamper, curling up into a ball, was symbolic of me moving from my heart in order to avoid that pain of witnessing my father getting killed, and moving into my headspace. Shortly after that, my grandfather died. And then it moved to where, as a child, the energy was, as a child, I wanted to be a dancer, like a ballet dancer in a big city like New York. I wanted to be a ballet dancer in a big city like New York or Chicago. I wanted to be a dancer. But, when that happened, when I witnessed my father getting killed, and I, avoided that trauma, avoided those pains in my heart space, and moved into my head, that dimmed my light, that dimmed my true soul's essence. And when I did that, instead of creating a life that was reflective of the high frequency that I was as a child, that was reflective of my true soul, my true authentic self, that was reflective of my true soul's frequency. When I moved from my heart space and moved into my head, I created a life out of fear. In the past life regression, I worked in a clothing wash shop. And in that clothing wash shop, a gentleman came in with his friends to pick up his clothing. And the gentleman said, Allie, you're so beautiful. I don't know why you work here. You should have a husband. You should be living good. I don't know why you work here. And, I just ignored him. Like, are you picking up your clothes or not? And his friend was there, and I looked into his friend's eyes, and his friend reminded me of that frequency of home, that frequency of myself that I had lost so long ago when my father died. And that frequency walked out the door when he left, right? And that was symbolic of a few things. I'm not going to get into that right now. But so he left out the door. Allie died in that log cabin that she grew up with her mother, her father, and her grandfather. She died on her deathbed. She died of a broken heart. She died alone with no family, no kids, never fulfilling her dreams. That was the past life regression that came in so vividly for me, right? And I understood it as, me not allowing my light to get dimmed, me, being my full self. But I've said it before, God told me, you don't know who you are, let me show you. The woman, the feminine, is sacred. The woman is sacred. She holds the blueprint, the keys, the map, the knowledge, the wisdom, the intuition of all that is, of the universe, of the cosmos. When I incarnated into this earth realm and I took on all of these traumas, all of these pains and wounds of the human collective, one of them being feeling as if my role as a woman was to serve and be as the masculine or the man wanted me to serve or to be as. Feeling as if in order for me to survive, I have to depend on the will, on the force, on the power of the man, of the masculine. This is how the woman, this is how the feminine, the divine feminine has been reduced in the human collective. Feeling as though she is being disconnected from her divine essence, from her divine truths. This has resulted in the woman being overly masculine, feeling that she has to work and be dominant in this world in order to be successful, in order to thrive. When the divine feminine, the divine creator, the Most High Creator created the divine feminine to be the wisdom keeper, to be the energy cultivator, to be the magnet to draw in all that she desires and all that she wants. I was in a predicament because I had that past trauma of losing myself, losing who I was, not allowing myself to be my full self because of the pains in my heart, because of the traumas in my heart as a child in this lifetime. So I had the past life regression of Allie losing who she was because of losing her father. As a child in this lifetime, when I was a small child, I had dreams of my father dying. I had dreams of my daddy dying, and that was my biggest fear when I was a child. And I didn't know why I would have that dream, and I kept it to myself. That was my biggest fear as a child, and it seemed so random. It seemed so random. It seemed so random. My biggest fear as a child was my daddy dying. And I would have a dream of my daddy passing away. And it wasn't him actually passing away. It was him riding a bicycle. And then he rode the bicycle into this hangar, like into this storage hangar. And then he didn't come out. And as a child, I intuitively knew that was symbolic of my daddy dying, of my daddy passing away from this physical realm. I knew that as a child. And that was my biggest fear, is my daddy dying as a child. So I carried around this fear of losing that masculine essence in my life, fearing losing that masculine essence in my life, that masculine love of a father, that love of my father, losing that energy in my life. I carried that around, that came from past lifetimes. This energy came from past lifetimes. Now, in order for me to be able to see this full picture, I had to allow myself to drop into my heart and feel the pains of losing my father, not just in this lifetime, because my daddy has passed away. He passed away a few years ago. Losing him in this lifetime from the physical realm, because we have reconnected. As I now know that there really is no boundaries or gates or limitations or blocks between the physical realm and the spiritual realm, but our minds. Our minds are the only thing that blocks us from the spiritual realm, being able to connect from spirits in the spiritual realm. Our minds and the limitations that we place on our minds and on ourselves are the only thing that blocks us from the spiritual realm. So I've reconnected with my daddy, and my daddy is always with me, and I love my daddy, and he's always with me. I'm gonna say that again, and I love my daddy. So I carried around this energy in my heart of losing my daddy. My daddy did pass. We reconnected as I let God show me who I am. I let God show me who I am, as I am a sacred divine feminine. I am a sacred divine feminine, meaning I was created to have access. I was created to connect. I was created to know the workings, the wisdom of the cosmos, of all that is. That's what I was created for. That's what the woman was created for. That's the position that the woman holds, is supposed to hold in humanity. The sacredness, the sanctity of being the wisdom bearer of the spiritual realm, of all that is, of the cosmos. So let God show me who I am. I am a sacred divine feminine. I am a sacred divine feminine. And I had this fear as I took on the energies of the human collective in order to work out these puzzles, in order to work out these energies, to understand these energies, to break free from these energies, in order to create the remedy, in order to emanate the remedy for the antidote for the wounds of the diluted feminine in the human collective. So I worked out these energies. Okay, God, show me who I am. I am a sacred divine feminine with no limitations. Only limitations are the limitations that I placed on myself. This fear that I had of losing my father that came from past lifetimes that were reinforced in this lifetime. Push me to seeing myself, understanding myself. Because when I had that past life regression, it said, I knew that it was on me. I knew that my ancestors were passing the baton to me to reignite the flame of our soul. My ancestors are not only my relatives that had passed away, but they're like the other incarnations of my soul. So the other incarnations of my soul in past lifetimes, those are my ancestors as well. So my ancestors are passing the baton to me to reignite our soul flame, to reignite who we are. I am a sacred, divine, feminine. With going back to the Jesus, and then the polar aspect of Jesus being Hitler, going back to the Jesus polarity aspect, Hitler polar, Hitler is Jesus. Going back to that analogy, Jesus went all in on his spirituality. Jesus was leaning heavily, and he was imbalanced. Jesus was imbalanced. He was imbalanced in the way that it's uncomfortable for me to say this because of my humanism, my old humanism, but this is what I'm being guided to say. Jesus was imbalanced. He sacrificed himself. Yes, he exemplified unconditional love he exemplified love, right? He exemplified love, but he didn't exemplify unconditional love. He didn't exemplify unconditional love. Why? He didn't exert the love he was emanating to himself fully. He did not exert the love he was emanating to others to himself. He overextended himself to others. He overexerted himself to others, and he didn't extend that energy to himself. And, everything that happens is supposed to happen, and everything that our spirits experience, they wanted to experience on a soul level. So what happened was supposed to happen. What happened with Jesus was supposed to happen, but Jesus was imbalanced in the same way that Hitler was imbalanced. Hitler was all for self. Hitler was completely in the dark. Hitler completely ignored his divinity. Hitler completely cut himself off from the knowing of who he was in a divine aspect, knowing that he is a part of a greater whole. He went all in with the lack survival consciousness, he wanted everything for himself, everything for his kind. Everything for his kind was being cut off to the fact that we are all infinite beings and an infinite creation. So that the lack consciousness, Hitler went all in with. The spirituality, the oneness spirituality, Jesus went all in with. So they were both imbalanced, just projecting energies from polar aspects of each other. Hitler and Jesus were both imbalanced, just projecting energies from polar aspects of each other. In order to live a balanced life, be a balanced creator, we have to accept the Hitler within us, and we have to accept the Jesus within us. And then decide what actions and what creations we want to make in that balance. In the middle of Hitler, in the middle between Hitler, the energies of Hitler and the energies of Jesus. In that middle balance part, we have to decide what we want to create from that point. In our fullness. Just as in order to be a balanced new human, we have to go within and acknowledge and accept all aspects of self, all multidimensional aspects of self. We also have to respect our position, our place in the grand design of what is in the universe. We have to respect our place in the universe. Wherever we are, whoever we are, that is where we are supposed to be. That is who we are supposed to be. Why? Because we are a part of a grand design. We are each parts of a grand design. We have to respect the whole. In order to acknowledge that there is a whole, we have to accept that we are a part of the whole. And a part of that acknowledgement of being a part of the whole is accepting our position in every moment and a part of the whole. So being present in the moment and knowing where you are is where you're supposed to be. Knowing who you are is who you are supposed to be in every moment. In every moment. What is my part? What is the part that I'm playing on this planet, in this incarnation? I am a soul incarnated as Ashley Nicole Phillips. Ashley Nicole Phillips is a human that is ushering in the new frequency of the new human being. Ashley Nicole Phillips is ushering in the new frequency of the new human being. We are a part of the creation of the new world, the God dream, the God dream. This dream is a dream that's been unfolding since the beginning of time. This dream is a dream that's been unfolding since the beginning of time. Everything that has occurred in the history of what is had to happen that way. Had to happen this way in order for this plan, this dream to unfold as God, Goddess always intended for this dream, this plan to unfold. There are 12 tribes. There are 12 tribes, 12 families ushering in the new frequency of the new human being. There are 12 tribes, 12 families ushering in the new frequency of the new human being. These 12 families are present, incarnated at this time on planet Earth. These 12 families are not all yet united, are not all yet consummated on planet Earth. But these families are in alignment and set to carry out their parts in the divine plan of God, Goddess, in which we are ignited, reignited, and we are all the flame of God, Goddess is sparked within all 12 tribes, all 12 families. We humans run from our power. We run from our spiritual essence. Essences. We run from our spiritual essences. We run from our divinity. We run from our divinity. We run from our divinity. The power of self scares us. We were programmed to fear the power of ourselves, of our true soul's selves. Again, everything that's happened was intentional. It was supposed to happen in the grand scheme of all that is. What has happened in the history of humanity was supposed to happen in the grand scheme of all that is, for many reasons. For many reasons. Humanity is coming back into its divinity. Humanity is being coerced back into its divinity. Humanity does not have a choice. Humanity does not have a choice. I want to thank y'all so much for joining me on this installment of Kingdom Things. I know this installment is intense. It's intense for me. It's intense for me. It's intense for me. Like I said, since the beginning of these podcasts, I have been channeling. I didn't always know it. I just thought, I was unconsciously conscious. So I've said it a few times that I've been super connected to my spiritual essence, as we all are, but I was just so unconscious. I was unconsciously conscious. So I was channeling this whole time. And, I've come into like I said earlier in this podcast installment, a wider scope of, I'm viewing a wider scope of reality. And with this scope widening, viewing a wider scope of reality, and it just intuitive hit. The reason why I'm viewing a wider scope of reality is because I went within. We're always where we're supposed to be, and we're always who we are supposed to be. At this time, I was being pushed within, forced by the universal forces within to take a look at myself, acknowledge all aspects of myself in order to be able to view myself in a wider aspect, in a more complete aspect, in a more full aspect, in order to perceive reality in a more full aspect, with a wider scope. So I was forced. We are always where we're supposed to be, and we're always who we're supposed to be. I was forced to go within, to take a look at myself, to acknowledge who I am, to get to know myself, to love on myself, to love on all aspects of myself, to acknowledge all aspects of myself, not just the aspects that society deemed appropriate or worthy or desirable. I was forced within, with going within, taking a good ass look at myself. I am perceiving a wider scope of reality. My soul asked me, my soul asked me, are you ready for me to show you who you are? Are you ready for me to show you who you are? You have been looking external to yourself to be validated for who you are. You have been looking external to yourself to be validated for who you are. You are going to spend infinity looking for yourself. There is only one you. There is only one you. There is only one you. The position that you're playing, the role that you have, and all that is a role in which there is only one being playing that role. It's you. It's you. That was a channel. So, this is all hitting me. at the same time that you are experiencing this yourself. I'm going to go into meditation. I'm going to go into meditation and meditate and just be in this energy. Be in this energy. Again, my name is Ashley Nicole Phillips, spiritual practitioner, spiritual healer, spiritual creative in this reality, in this earth experience. I've created the story of Asya. It is about a teenage girl growing up in the New York City foster care system. The things that she experiences about herself was foresight of what I was going to experience about myself. So as I now look back and see that the story of Asya was a channeling to give me foresight of who I was. The story of Asya was a channeling to give me foresight of who I was. You can click the link in the description of this podcast posting to read the story of Asya, as well as my other half. My other half is about the infinite nature of our souls. Also a parallel to who I am, infinite nature of our souls, the things that we experience in many lifetimes make up who we are in every given moment. The things we experience in every lifetime make up who we are in every given moment. Go within, love on yourself, acknowledge every aspect of yourself in order to see yourself in your fullness. In order to perceive yourself in your fullness, in order to perceive reality with a wider scope. I want to thank you so much again for joining this installment of Kingdom Things. I love you. Bye.